Eamon Khan here for Seconds Out. Pleasure to be joined by Jonathan Banks heading into a big fight week next week. Chris Eubank Jr versus Conor Benn. John, you said to me, life is good. How's things going in the training camp? What's the mood like?
Um, the mood is good. I can't complain about it. What can I say? The mood is a fight mood. So everybody mood. Well, Chris and I mood is it's fight focused. So that's the mood.
How does Eubank Jr. differ from other fighters you've trained before?
Um, I mean, I can't. He don't differ too much because a lot of fighters that I had the pleasure of working with have a mentality of I want to win. Let's work. Come on, coach. Let's work. I want to win. So as far as that goes, that's all. That's all I really need. So that part of my job, I really do enjoy when someone is just can't wait to get it. Can't. It's hard to leave the gym. Can't wait to get back to the gym, type of thing. So that part of my job I enjoy.
I believe you picked up the reins from Roy Jones Jr. when Eubank Jr. was training him. Was there a process of trying to file down what Roy Jones was teaching him and getting him into what you wanted from him?
Um, I don't know that to be true. So I mean, I don't know, but um, yeah, I didn't really just come in and try to. I don't like walking in somewhere and saying, "Okay, don't do that. Everything done my way." I don't like doing that because um, I have the utmost respect for fighters because um, fighters, with them being on the front line and seeing the action direct close up, a lot of times you just have to go off their instincts, and according to their instincts, you can start adding or subtracting, either adding to that or subtracting from that. So it's either one of the two.
When a fighter knocks on your door and says, "Look, I want to come train with you. I want you to teach me," obviously that's great. But what's the first thing that you look for to know that you two can work together?
I mean, for this first, it's not nothing that I look for. It's a conversation.
Mm.
Everything is done through conversation. So once we have a conversation and they tell me what they want, what they're looking for, if their actions are not once they once they tell me what they want, if their actions are not portraying that, then we got to come back to the table and say, listen, you said this is what you wanted, so I need your actions to portray what you want. So once we get through that moment, then if we have to have that moment, not necessarily that moment have to come up, but um, most of the stuff is done through most of the information I gather. I mean, obviously, I gather everything I can off watching them, but once you watch a fighter and then you have a conversation with the fighter and you get a feeling of how the fighter thinks, then you can see what they're doing in the ring. It kind of makes more sense.
So can you say what the conversation was when Eubank Jr. initially approached you?
Um, I mean, this was really basic. I mean, need a new coach. Um, are you interested? And um, we picked the date and we got started. It was really basic, but once I don't usually, especially with every fighter that I can think of working with. Once I got there, we had a face to face conversation,
Mhm.
and we talked back and forth about what they want. And I need to know what they want because I already know what I want because I already studied the fighters. So I already know what I want. I just need to see if what you want and what I want can they match up. It's the same thing with Triple G. We sat, we had a long conversation, and the plan was, he said, I just want to, just want to try you out for a minute, see how we work. I said, okay. And we had a conversation. He said, I want to try you. Let's go. I said, okay, cool, let's go.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of things is done off of conversation.
Mm-hmm. And have you seen what you've wanted to get out from Eubank Jr. in this camp heading into the big fight next week?
Man, I'm getting what I want to get out of him, and I'm very happy about it as well.
Getting the right sparring in for Eubank Jr., trying to, I guess, mimic some of the traits of Conor Ben. What other assets were you looking for from some of the sparring partners?
I mean, it's pretty simple. A fighter that comes forward and throw a lot of punches. I mean, it is really that simple.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing as being aggressive. Aggressive fighters coming forward. So in essence, it's the same thing. I mean, that's what Conor is. He's an aggressive fighter that likes to come forward. No tricks, no games, just comes forward.
How do you assess his recent performances over in America, Conor Ben?
Um, I guess they're okay. I mean, yeah, I mean, I guess he's doing what he has to do at the level he's doing it at. I'm assuming to the best of his ability. So I don't see nothing wrong with it. Seemed like a strong fighter. Seemed like a good fighter to me.
One of Conor's strengths and one of the things he's been saying in the fight week fight build up is consistently that he's going to knock out Eubank Jr. I think one of his powers and his strength is one of his main assets. Do you see that as that way, and do you see the power being a main factor in this fight from Conor Benn's perspective?
I mean, I never felt the guy punch, so I can't comment on that part. But going by the stuff I see, for him saying how powerful he is, it's not like he's the one punch knockout guy. So, like, really, I mean, he's talking like he's knocking guys out with either hand. That's not the case. If you go talk about yourself in that manner, you need to have some stuff to back it up with, like a resume of knocking people out, like consistently. Everybody you fought, you just knocked out with one punch. I mean, if that's what that I'm saying, that is in essence, if that's what you're gonna say about yourself, that's what I think. That those are the things you should have to go with it. But if you even look at some of the biggest punchers in the sport, not all, but most of them, they didn't even say much. Just look at it. They didn't say much. They said, "Okay, we'll see. I take the fight. We'll see." Like they never said much. And these some of the biggest punchers in the sport. So you can kind of analyze that part.
Was the Eubank and Ben rivalry something that, of course, you're over in America and had your own pro career, but was it something that you'd particularly kept tabs on and had kind of
No,
translated over to America before you were
no,
involved with Eubank?
no.
Hmm.
I mean, it's no diss to them, but
Yeah.
it's Eubank Sr. and Nigel Benn. It's a good fight for boxing, and the fathers is a good fight for boxing, and it was good for what happened, but it was amazing for England, and yeah, it was more. But I mean, maybe because both guys is this is their home, so it's obviously bigger here, but some rivalries, some people rival at home and is, seen globally. Ali Frazier, um, Holyfield Foreman, Holyfield Riddick Bowe. Some people rivalry just hits global, and I think it was a lot of people, a lot of guys. They was in a real hot division back then, meaning being in Eubank Sr. So they definitely got a lot of attention because how such hot division that they was in. So I think it is. I'm not saying it's not global. I think it is. I think it is global for what they did, and I think is for on both sides. I think this is something. I still think this is something special that they can also take part in and look at their sons do it too. To me, in my opinion, like for boxing purposes and as a fan of the sport, I'm a fan of the sport. Um, I think it's something special that they get to be a part of.
Is there any part of the camp where, and by no means would I say that Eubank Jr maybe needs this, but with such it being a big and huge moment and a grudge match of a huge kind, just having a massive spotlight in a big stadium, is there any part where there's a management of the moment that happens in the camp to make sure the moment doesn't become too much for your fighter?
I mean, the thing about that, people can say whatever they want about the moment. No one knows what you're gonna do in that moment until you get in that moment. Because the thing that people don't take in consideration is what I tell any fighters I work with that never been in a big moment. I explain to them that that ride to the arena, that weigh-in is completely different. That sit in the locker room is completely different because you know that this is the biggest fight to date of your career. All eyes is on you. So your emotions is going to be different on this particular day. You can try to fool yourself and all this stuff, like um, that stuff is not gonna matter. So me personally, I always talk to my fighters and letting them know what it is and just basically listen for my voice and stay focused. And I got certain words I say through the whole camp. Once the camp start, my format, my language don't change until after the fight. So they hear certain things that they can familiarize themselves with, and can keep them at a place where they need to be.
One of the issues going into the fight, of course, is the weight cut, and I imagine the team and yourselves have got that down to a science. Can you talk me through the process of Eubank getting to the weight and where he is right now on that track?
I mean, the weight cut is simple. It's 160. There's really no cut. I mean, it's 160. It's not like he's been a light heavyweight half his career. He's been a small guy his whole career. He's not a career 175 or in the 80s or 90s in the high caliber weight classes. He's never been in the high caliber weight classes. So yeah, like middleweight is he definitely have enough space to make the weight, and without it being a drastic, without trying to be sweat down and be all drastic, he able to work out with a shirt on because you don't have to put a bunch of clothes on to work out because he is not that drastic of a weight cut.
What about the time in between the Friday weigh-in and then the Saturday making the 170 limit? What's that period like managing that rehydration?
I mean, at the end of the day, you just gotta manage it to make sure that you don't go over. Me personally, um, um, I don't like the rules of it. That's just a personal thing. I don't like it because I don't think a sanctioned body should have the right to tell you, or a commission have the right to tell you what you can and cannot do in the sport because they're not paying. You know, the commission makes money and the sanctioned body makes money. So that's like your employer telling you what they can and cannot do. Like, no, you work here. So if you work here for us, why, we paying you to be here. So how you gonna tell us the rules? I just think it's a little much, but you got a lot of people who mainly promoters and commissions that would disagree with what I'm saying.
I should give a small pushback on that because Eubank Jr. in the end did, I guess, sign off on that. Was there that conversation between you two about not?
Man, no, they could sign off on whatever they want to sign off because that's part of the program, that's part of the fight.
Hmm.
But I don't. But still, they trying to say they doing it to keep the fighters safe.
Okay.
But if you doing it to keep fighters safe, at the same breath, you telling guys, you say we want to see how you make weight to keep y'all safe, but you put in matchups the guys that don't know how to fight against veteran guys that knows how to fight. How is that keeping someone safe? It's a double-edged sword. Like you can't say we doing this for safety reasons and then turn around and not pay attention to nothing else. If any commission was trying to keep everything safe, then they would do mandatory doping for every single fight, but they don't because they're not gonna pay for it, so they don't do it. So I just disagree in the keeping the whole fighter safe thing because they consistently show that that's really not the case.
Just on the point of the drugs testing, are you satisfied with the amount of drugs testing that is happening on both sides?
I think both sides. I think it's good. A lot of people, some people like it. Most people like it, but I like it because it keeps the fighter. It keeps the fighters, not the fighters, but it makes the sport seem like it's a little more honest. Because once you get popped for steroids, if you get popped for a drug and they find out it's an illegal substance, um, then 6 weeks later you find out you've been cleared. Have you been cleared to fight again, or have you been cleared of? Okay, we got that wrong. You didn't take nothing, or you did take something, and we just go clear you because it's out your system. I don't know.
Mhm.
But anti-doping is, I think, it's a very important thing in the sport.
I'm sure you have seen Eubank Sr.'s comments. He's made his stance clear as to not being part of the corner for next week. I just wonder what the reaction has been from yourself and the team seeing those from Eubank comments from Eubank Sr.
Um, his comments are his comments, and I'll leave it at that.
Mhm.
You know, that's about what it is for me.
Mhm. Just in terms of, I don't know if you've maybe experienced this before in a general sense. You'd have to direct this to Eubank Sr. and Eubank Jr.'s relationship. But can you say what effects fighters draw strength from when they have a figure of family in their corner? I know that just an example from Dubois and his father, they draw strength from each other, and that seems to boost Daniel in a general sense. Have you seen the effects of how a fighter can improve sometimes when they have that figure in their family in their corner?
You got a guy like Roy Jones.
Mhm.
You got Chris Burr. He had his mother as a cut with woman and his father as a coach.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So Devin Haney got his father as his coach. Sometimes this happens. You know, Floyd started off with his father coaching him. He turned pro. His uncle was coaching him. Then he went back to his father. Once they had a falling out, he went back to his uncle. And then at the end, he went, he had his father back in his corner. So did he lose something when his father was out of his corner? No. Did he gain something when his father was in his corner? No, not really. So it's like to each his own. If you feel most fighters are creatures of habit, about 99.9%. I'm sorry, most athletes are creatures of habit. 99.9% of athletes are creatures of habit. And they all superstitious. No matter what they say, they superstitious. So if they used to having something and it's a winning system, they will try to keep it. And that's all it is. But if you don't feel like this system is this is not a winning system, you change. So in that regard, each of these fighters, most fighters, like a guy like Floyd, he changed. He went to his uncle instead of having his dad, because they had a falling out in the gym, all this stuff. And then eventually they, they talked, shook hands, and he started back. So, again, that's a to each his own type of thing, of how they feel personally about that person being in the corner or not. Like he fought plenty of fights where his father wasn't in the corner, meaning Eubank Jr. So do his opponent, do Ben draw strength because his dad is there? Probably so, because he talk about his dad a lot, So he probably do. But is it going to make a difference in a fight? No. Is it going to make Ben fight harder? I'm sure. I'm sure it's going to make him fight a lot harder. But does that mean Eubank Jr. go fight a little less harder? No, that doesn't mean that at all. So you got one guy that have, one guy that don't. It's just simple as that. It's not, in my opinion, I don't read nothing into it.
What did Eubank Jr. say about it?
We haven't really talked about it.
Fair enough. I wanted to ask you just to move on slightly, but keep on topic as well. Of course, you've trained Gennady Golovkin, who's one of my favorite fighters of the previous generation. And at one point, maybe Eubank Jr. and Gennady Golovkin were gonna face each other in the ring. I won't pin you down as to who you think would have won, but do you ever discuss Gennady Golovkin with Eubank Jr. In your time together?
Some of his people asked me about the fight,
Hmm.
and I told them I'm glad the fight didn't happen.
Why is that?
Can't say. I'm just glad the fight didn't happen.
How different are those two, Eubank Jr. and Golovkin?
I mean, they night and day difference because look at the amount of experience Triple G has. I mean, you got a guy with hundreds of amateur fights, Olympian, experience. He was, before he started boxing pro, he was already traveling the world in the Olympics and in the World Games and stuff like that. So he had a boatload of experience. You know what I'm saying? So that alone is completely different.
Last thing I want to close out with before I get a closing statement on the fight with you is a note that Eubank Jr. followed through with his gesture to pay for a purse amount for the camp expenses for the first fight falling through. Why was that so important for Eubank Jr., do you feel?
Um, I think it was important because number one, he know how I feel when fights fall through, and he also knows that promoters have insurance on the show that if fights fall through, they still make money. They don't lose nothing. But the fighter is the only people that lose money. He knows this. And although the promoters make their money, get their money back, they don't lose nothing. The fighter's the only ones who lose. And with him having that knowledge of it, I'm assuming he feel passionate about it, and a fighter should get some type of compensation, especially if it's not their fault that the show was canceled. They should get some type of compensation of I guess we'll pick this up next time type of thing. But ain't nobody does that.
Very last thing, leave the final word with yourself. What happens next week when Eubank Jr and Conor Ben meet in the ring?
I think Conor Ben is gonna really put everything he's gonna try to put everything he said in the ring. But I'm looking at I think Eubank Jr beats Conor Ben, and I also think he hurt him. I also think he stops him.
Jonathan, real pleasure speaking to you. Real insightful conversation. Thank you so much for speaking to Seconds Out. Wish you all the best for next week as well too.
Thank you. Pleasure's mine.